Yentachin v'yoylas v'shchaydesh na'ale'olam Mizbeach chodesh v'tzvi Yentachin v'yoylas v'shchaydesh na'ale'olam Mizbeach chodesh v'tzvi Tavavavavachin v'aylas Ravavavayishchaydesh Na'ale'ovavavana Me'yachadesh b'tziyan tachin Yaylas v'yishchaydesh Na'ale'olav Me'yachadesh b'tziyan tachin Yaylas v'yishchaydesh Na'ale'olav Mizbeach Havavadosh b'tziyan Tavavavachin v'yaylas v'yishchaydesh Na'ale'olav Okay, welcome, Parshat Chukat. The Torah begins, Zot Chukat Torah. This is the Chok of the Torah. This is the law. As you know, there are different ways of categorizing the mitzvahs. And one of them is that all the mitzvahs fall into, you can separate all the mitzvahs into 2 or 3 categories, mainly 2 categories, chukim and mishpatim. Mishpatim are defined as laws that human beings understand easily. Laws logically, laws that just about every society has such laws. For example, don't commit murder, don't steal. And chukim are the laws that we would not have come up with on our own. We wouldn't have made such laws as not wearing garments that are shatnez, garments made of wool and linen together, or the loss of kashrut. Now, so we're going to be learning today, basically, we're going to be looking into Rashi, according to the teachings of the Rebbe. And tonight is Rosh Chodesh. Tonight is the 1st of Tammuz. This Shabbos is going to be the 22nd Yortzeit of the Baba Shiravi. And Zchus Yogan Aleinu, we shall see the Geula Shlema B'Meira. So the Parsha says, "V'daber Hashem el Moshe ve'el Aaron lemor." Hashem said to Moshe and Aaron, saying, "Zot chukat haTorah." This is the chok of the Torah. Asher tziva Hashem lemor, which God commanded. Daber el Bonei Yisrael v'yikchu elecha Farah Dumat Mima, they should bring to you a red heifer that is completely red, Asher Ein Ba Mum, that has no blemish, Asher Lo Ala Aleha Ol, that never had a yoke on it. And there's a whole procedure about how this animal is slaughtered, and is slaughtered outside the camp, and then it's completely, then there's a sprinkling of the blood and towards the tent of meeting, and then the heifer is burned completely, everything, including the skin, etc. And then a piece of cedar wood and hyssop and crimson thread are taken and thrown into the burning of the heifer. And then those ashes were collected and kept in a special place that was taho, and it was to be used as cleansing, for spiritual cleansing, for someone who had become tamei. Right? So we've learned in the past, sorry guys, it's late at night, and I've been having the full day, Baruch Hashem. So the spiritual cleansing from someone who had become tamei, from being either touching a corpse or being in the same building with a dead corpse, a human corpse.
Or preparing the ashes.
And also the people who prepare the red heifer also become tamei. In any case, basically this is the chok of the Torah, that even King Solomon, who said that he understood all the other chukim, this one he could not fathom. He could not figure this one out, because there are so many contradictions to the logic of it that is beyond understanding. Now, what's important to know is like this. First of all, the terminology of tamei and taho is, these are two words that there is no translation for them in other languages or cultures, because they don't have that concept. The closest thing that I could say is spiritually, not spiritually, but ritually pure and ritually impure. Meaning to say specifically that when somebody is taho, they are fit to enter into the temple. And if they're not taho, if they're tamei, then they have to go through a process depending on what kind of a tumah they had gotten. It could be as little as a day. It could be at least a week or even more than a week in some cases, before they can become taho again. Now, there are some aspects of tumah and tahara that some aspects of it are a little bit understandable or somewhat understandable, and others are beyond understanding. But the this is even tumah and tahara are basically chukim, the laws that we don't understand by and large, and these are laws that the Torah says, if this and this happens, you become tamei. If you become tamei, you got to go through the following process to become taho. When you're tamei, you can't eat from any animal sacrifices. You can't enter into the Mishkan. All kinds of things. There's different degrees of tumah. One of the reasons that it's so hard for us to understand it is because we have not had the service of the red heifer for about 2,000 years, and as a result, we don't even know what it means to be tahor because we are basically all tamei. So we don't even have, in a certain sense, we don't have what to contrast it with. The closest thing to someone being tahor is a newly born baby. You know? And even that doesn't last long. Because once an adult who is tamei picks up the baby becomes tamei too. Because tumah, no, actually, I shouldn't say that. I'm not sure about that. Because if you touch somebody that's tamei, you could become tamei, depending on what kind of a tumah it is. But in any case, it doesn't last. We don't really know what it means to. We don't have the experience of being tahor. You can imagine what would it be like to be ritually tahor. But even how do you know if that imagination is accurate? You know.
And so, what's the benefit of a man going to the mikvah?
That's Takonis Ezra. There's certain things that we do that to maintain a certain sense of it. You understand, to maintain a connection with a mitzvah that even though we can't practice it in reality, for example, separating truma and meiser, tithing your produce, right? There is no kohen today that can actually eat it because the kohanim are tamei. Okay? But we're not allowed to eat before separating the tithes. So we still practice it, even though in practice we can't actually fulfill the mitzvah of giving it to the kohen or giving it to the Levi. And there's a lot of things that we do that we know that we're not able to actually practice until we have the Beit HaMikdash again. So there's a level of relating with mitzvahs and the level of learning about them and speaking about them, even though you can't actually practice it. For example, in the daily davening, the davening begins with a whole section called korbanot, sacrifices. We're not bringing any sacrifices today, but there's a verse that says in the Shema, Parim Svatenu, let our lips make up for the sacrifices that we're not able to bring. In other words, by reading the passages, by studying it, by reciting the passages of the Torah, so we have a tradition that at least we're fulfilling the mitzvah to some degree in that way. Okay, so having said that, the Rebbe distinguishes, he says that basically there are two categories of chukim. One category of chuk is chukim that are not understood at all, which is like para aduma, the red heifer. Other chukim have, even though they're chukim, even though they're laws which we don't understand, nevertheless, there are aspects of it that we do understand a little bit. Understand, you might not understand the whole mitzvah. There are parts of the mitzvah that you don't understand. There are parts of the mitzvah that you do understand. You can, like for example, the Rambam Maimonides wrote a whole book called My Guide for the Perplexed, Moreh Nevuchim, where he tries to provide a rationale for many of the chukim. The book didn't really succeed. The reason he wrote the book is because in his time, Aristotelian philosophy was very, very popular. And according to Aristotle, it's beneath the dignity of a human being to do something that you don't understand. It's plain and simple. It's a chutzpah to you as a human being to do something that you can't explain.
It's a problem.
Huh?
That's a problem because there's many things that we don't understand.
I'm saying, but that was very popular. Of course, we for us, it's not a problem, as we know that there are things we don't understand. I'm just saying, but according to that philosophy, and it was very popular back in the time of Maimonides, so a lot of Jews felt that it's not proper for them to actually follow laws that they couldn't rationally explain. So they dropped it.
let's say there was an herb that healed people back then, and somebody who got sick and maybe this herb would heal them.
But that's rational, that you know that this works.
How do you know that it works? How do you know it's going to work for him? Maybe it worked for him. It's not going to work.
It might
for
or might not.
why is that rational?
You know that if you're hungry and you eat food, you're not hungry.
Right.
You know that if the person has a certain ailment and a certain herb actually does the healing, you know that it works. It's rational to take it. You don't know how it works, but you don't have to know how it works you don't have to know how water satiates your thirst. You just know that water satiates your thirst.
So what was this feeling that it's beneath a person to do something that he doesn't understand?
But something that you did, but for example, to put on, not to wear garments that are made of wool and linen.
Right.
What do you see something working? You don't see something working. You don't see anything. It's totally, understand, there's nothing that you see. You don't see any benefits from it, right? There's nothing, it's not like you can say, oh, I'm wearing clothes that aren't sharpness, I feel better. So because a lot of Jews were caught up in Aristotle's philosophy, so a lot of Jews basically dropped practice of these mitzvot. So the Rambam wrote Moreh Nevuchim, trying to show that the Torah basically is rational. But it didn't succeed in other words, the book didn't succeed in turning people back onto Yiddishkeit. So, besides which, a book that did have a very big influence on people in those days was the Kuzari, which was also written around that time. And the Kuzari doesn't try to rationalize the laws that are chokim. He doesn't try to do that. But rather he gives you an understanding of why we should serve Hashem. Understand? He explains things in the Torah and so on. Okay. Excuse me. Now, so there are chukim that we understand partially, and there are chukim, like particularly the Parah Adumah, that we don't understand at all. So at the beginning of this week's parsha, the phrase that we just read was Zot Chukat HaTorah. This is the chok of the Torah. Now we've had the word chukim, chok, appear already earlier in the Chumash, in Vayikra. As a matter of fact, we're going to look at that Vayikra chapter 18. So you might as well open it now. And what the Rebbe does over here is the Lubavitch Rebbe is he raises a question. It's actually verse 4 in chapter 18 in Leviticus. The pasuk over there says, "Et mishpatai ta'asu, you shall practice my mishpatim, et chukatai tishmeru, and my chukim, in other words, the laws that you don't understand, you should guard them, Malechet bahem, to walk the path, doing these mitzvot. Ani Hashem Elokechem, I am Hashem your God." Now, over there, Rashi already explains, he already defines what are mishpatim and what are chukim. So Rashi says mishpatim are laws that even if they would not have been written in the Torah, it would make sense for them to be laws of the Torah. For example, don't commit murder, don't steal. And then he says chukim, he defines as laws that are simply decrees of God Now, here in our Parsha, Rashi says like this, and Zot Chukat Torah, look in Bamidbar for a second. Rashi says, Rashi is coming to explain why does the Torah have to even tell us this following law concerning the red heifer, these laws concerning the red heifer, that this is a chok. We know that it's a chok. We know that we don't understand it, right? So why does the Torah say, this is the chok of the Torah? Why does it say, and if you want to say this is a chok, say this is a chok. Why do you have to say ha-Torah, the chok of the Torah? So Rashi says, Lefisha Satan v'umot ha'olam, because the Satan and the nations of the world, monin et Yisrael, they bother the Jews, lomar, saying to them, Maha mitzvah hazot? What kind of a mitzvah is this? Uma ta'am yeshba. And what reason is there in this mitzvah? Doesn't make sense. So they come and they bother the Jews. They say, well, what kind of religion is this that you have commandments that don't make any logical sense?
In order to convince Jews not to be Jews.
In order to try to convince Jews to give up, to stop practicing. So therefore, the Torah specifies that this mitzvah is a chok, which means zerahi milfanai, it is a decree from me. And Rashi goes on and he says, Ein lecha reshut leharher achareha, and you have no permission to consider or question it. Afterthoughts. Like, stop wondering, like, why did God ask me to do something that doesn't make sense? Now, in Vayikra, in Perek Yudchet, verse 4, chapter 18, verse 4, Rashi says something very similar, but there are a couple of differences very important. There Rashi says, these are laws that are decrees of the king, right? And so there's already one difference. Over there, Rashi says these are decrees of the king, and over here, Rashi said these are decrees of mine. And there Rashi says, Shayetzer hara, the evil inclination, meshiv aleihem, argues against them, lama lanu b'shumran, saying, why should we keep these laws? In other words, our own Yetzer hara, our own evil inclination bothers us and says, why should we do this? It doesn't make sense. L'umot ha'olam, of the Elilim, and the nations of the world, the idolaters, Meshivin Alehem, they too argue against these laws. Kigon, for example, Achilat Chazir, eating pork, Vishat Shatnez, the law prohibiting wearing garments made of wool and linen, Vitarat Mechatat, and the purification waters. Right? The Yetzer Hara says, why should I do these things? It doesn't make sense. So therefore it says, Ani Hashem. So that's why the verse ends off over here. It says, these are my mishpatim, these are my chukim, and you are to do them and to guard them. I am Hashem your God. So the verse ends off with the words, I am Hashem your God, so that you should know that Ani Hashem gazdarti alechem, I, Hashem, decreed this upon you. I atam rashai lihipater, and you have no permission to be excused from keeping these laws. So now here are two more differences that are very important between this Rashi and the Rashi in our Parsha this week. One is that in this Rashi over here, in Vayikra, Rashi says it's the Yetzer Hara that is coming and attacking you. And whereas in the Rashi, in our verse here in Parshat Chukat, Rashi says it's the Satan. So what's the difference between the Yetzer Hara that Rashi chose to use over there and over here he chose to use the word Satan? And secondly, over there in Vayikra, Rashi says, you have no permission, you are not excused from following these mitzvot. And over here, Rashi says, you don't even have permission to question them. So what's going on? So the Rebbe explains, we just said a few minutes ago, that there are two categories of mishpatim, of chokim. There's the chokim, the ordinances which you understand parts of it, and parts of the ordinance you don't understand. And there's a chok like para aduma that you don't understand anything about it. Now, which one should the Yetzer Hara come and bother you? Let's say the laws of kashrut as compared to the laws of the red heifer. The laws where you understand some of it and some of it you don't understand, as compared to a law which you don't understand at all. Which one is the Yetzer Hara more likely to seduce you into giving up the practice of kashrut? Why? After all, you do understand part of it.
Because there's a place for some doubt. You're thinking, well, why should I can probably eat this thing? It's not so bad. But the chukim is something that's totally beyond.
But you're giving me, but kashrut is a chok also.
Yeah, but you can justify it in your head.
It's still a chok. Okay, good. So you said something good. You said that you can, to some extent, you can justify it. In other words, what you're saying is like this: if it's a law that I understand it partially, but part of it I don't understand, that means that I'm already relating to the law from my intelligence.
And making decisions.
So since I'm relating to the law from my intelligence, it's going to bother me more that there's a part of it that I don't understand. But if it's a law that I don't understand at all,
so then there's no question.
So then there isn't really room to question it because none of it is making sense.
Right.
Okay? So the Yetzer Hara that Rashi mentions in Vayikra, and the examples that Rashi brings over there are mishpatim that partially are understood and partially not understood. So there is the Yetzer Hara that is the one that bothers us. Mm-hmm. Now, but over here we're talking about the red heifer, and we don't understand it at all. So who comes to bother us? It's the Satan. Now, the word Satan is going to appear in next week's parsha. It means to block, right? To block, that's the word, that's the literal meaning of the word, the Satan law, to block him. The Satan is not, even though the Gemara says that the Yetzer Hara, the Malach HaNefesh, and the Satan, they're all like one category, but there still are subtle differences between them. So whereas the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, wants you to not do a mitzvah or wants you to do a transgression, that's the Yetzer Hara. But the Satan is more to block you from doing the mitzvah. In other words, what happens when somebody blocks your path? What do? You go home or you go around? You go around, right? Now, just in other words, the Satan knows that if he tries to block us on the path of doing a mitzvah that we don't understand at all, he knows that what's the Jew going to say? The Jew is going to say, okay, Satan, I don't understand it. But I do know that God is far more intelligent than I. And if Hashem wants me to do this, I'm going to do it. If Hashem doesn't want me to do a certain thing, I'm not going to do it. But you're going to say to me, but you don't understand any of it. I agree. I don't understand any of it. I don't understand any of it, right? But that's what God wants. So I'm going to do it anyway. So why is the Satan bothering to bother us in the first place? If he knows that a Jew is not going to stop doing a mitzvah just because he doesn't understand it, so what does the Satan have to gain by coming and saying to you, hey, why are you doing this? It doesn't make any sense. So the Rebbe says a beautiful, very beautiful explanation. And why does it, to explain why Rashi says, you don't have permission to question it. The Rebbe explains like this. What the Satan wants exactly is to get you to question and to doubt it. Even though he knows that in the end you're going to do the mitzvah, his goal is to make you question and to doubt it.
To bring you to the place where we were before, the kashrut.
Why?
Wait.
What is he going to gain by doing that? What the Satan wants to do is he wants to rob you of your joy in doing the mitzvah.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you an example. I remember when one of my children was like around 2-3 years old, and my brother said to him, hey, would you like to do a mitzvah? And he said, yeah. He was excited to do a mitzvah. Right? You say to a child, would you like to do a mitzvah? Yeah. The children get older. Would you like to do a mitzvah? Maybe yes, maybe no, right? What's the difference between the child and when you're older? The difference is that the older child is already questioning it. And when you're questioning it, it's already more difficult to do it with joy.
Mm-hmm.
Your joy has been robbed. When you ask your little kid, 3 years old, would you like to help daddy take the garbage out? Yeah, I want to do something that's going to make daddy happy, right? You ask your 10-year-old, can you please take the garbage out? Do I have to? Can I do it later? Can I do it tomorrow? Take the garbage out, right? So the kid will take it out, but he's not doing it with joy, right? So if I start
some candy afterwards,
yeah. So if I start questioning the chok, right, I'll still end up doing it. Mm-hmm. But you know what the result is? The result is that I'm not going to have the same joy.
Okay.
So that's why Rashi says over here that you should know, don't even question it. Besides the fact that you're not going to find out the answer anyway. But don't question it, just accept this is Hashem's will and be grateful that you can do something for Hashem because Hashem wants you to do it. Because be grateful that Hashem is giving you a mitzvah to connect with Him and giving us an opportunity to be closer to Hashem. So that's the warning over here. Zot Chukat HaTorah. This is the chuk of the Torah. You just have to know this is God's decree. So what if the nations of the world are bothering us? So what if the Satan is trying to block us? Know that the Satan is doing his job, and our job is not to even pay attention to what the Satan wants. Okay. But in the mitzvot where you, in the chukim that you do understand partially, right? In the chukim that you do understand partially, that's already a different story. Since you understand it partially, and partially you don't understand, so the Yetzer Hara has already an open door to come and bother you and to say things like, this doesn't make sense. You know, all the other laws of the Torah make sense. This doesn't make sense. You know, like, so why are, just stop practicing it. So there Rashi says, in other words, Yetzer Hara is not a block from outside, so to speak. It's a block from, it's an energy from inside that we always have to be aware of and try to overcome. So there, in that Rashi in Vayikra, Rashi says, "Ve'en lecha reshut, ve'en lecha iatem rashayim leipater." You have no excuse. You're not exempt from the mitzvah just because you don't understand it. Even though all the other mitzvahs are understood, and even though there are details of this chok that are understood, you know that if you have thoughts of dropping the practice, it's coming from the Yetzer Hara, and know that you're not freed from doing the mitzvah. Here in Chukat, Rashi is saying, don't even question it, don't even consider it. It doesn't need to say that you're not free, you're not exempt from doing the mitzvah, because we know that you're going to do the mitzvah. The fact that you don't understand any of it makes you realize, well, I really don't understand any of it, so there's only one reason to do it, and that's because Hashem said so. So you're going to do the mitzvah, but be careful that you don't allow the Satan to rob you of the joy. That's the pshat in the Rashi. In a related sikha,
that was from the Rebbe?
Yeah. It's in Torah studies. Now, in a related sikha, the Rebbe talks about another commandment: don't steal. Why shouldn't you steal? Don't steal is a mishpat. It's a rational, makes sense law, right? You want to have a society of decent citizens. You have to.
You don't want to steal so that other people won't steal from you.
Well, it would be, you want to have a lawful society. You don't want to have a lawless society, right? So it makes sense that one of the laws is don't steal. And everybody who spends time thinking about this knows that it's morally wrong to steal, right? We know that. We understand that. So, if I'm not stealing, either because of A or B, A being I'm not stealing because I've come to the realization that it's morally wrong to steal, and therefore I'm not stealing anymore.
Like your roommate in college.
Or, correct. Or is it better to say, or is it a higher order to not steal just because Hashem said don't steal?
That's like the Chukim and Mishpatim.
Okay, so that's already getting to the Chukim and the Mishpatim. I'm going to finish in a couple of minutes. I'm not going to have
That you want to do Mishpatim on the level of
if you are not stealing because you understand that it's morally reprehensible, first of all, maybe you understand that today. Well, Hashem, you have a home to live in, you have food. Like, God forbid, you don't know what you would be like if you were tested, God forbid, with real poverty. Shalom Eda, right? Then the human logic starts getting a little bit twisted, you know? And you might actually rationalize why, under certain circumstances, it's actually okay to steal. Or it's always possible that somebody smarter than you can come along and get you into a debate and convince you that it's not such a terrible thing to steal. So if the reason I didn't steal until now is because I was convinced that it's wrong, so now I'm not so convinced that it's wrong anymore. But if I'm not stealing because Hashem said don't steal, I don't care how smart you are, and I don't care how many arguments you're going to give me why it's okay to steal. I'm not going to steal because Hashem said don't steal.
It's connected to Nav 7 Shema.
That is connected to Nav 7 Shema, right? So the question then is, well, if that's the highest way of doing the Mishpatim, so why does the Torah want us to learn it and to understand it? And one of the answers is because what the Torah wants is that you should engage your brain in serving Hashem. Engage your brain by thinking about the words of your prayers, and therefore meaning it a lot more sincerely, and engage your brain, because that way the mitzvah is to serve Hashem with all our beings, all our bodies, right? So by engaging the brain, just you are physically involved in the doing of the mitzvah. Your mind is involved in the mitzvah. Hashem wants you to understand the mishpatim. When it comes to actually doing it, you sort of have to erase whatever you know and do it just because Hashem said. Okay? So I hope that this was clear enough, because I'm just really tired out there. Okay?
Okay.
Huh?
Upload the lesson.